We are back live with our audience in Luxembourg and abroad. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Uli. Great to have you on this special session of the 10-year, 10 minutes with LPEA. Uli Grabenwarter. It's great to have you because you are not a Luxembourg player, but you are based in Luxembourg representing EIF, European Investment Fund, which is the #1 institutional investor in Europe. You're the head of or deputy director, I should use proper titles, of equity investments. That's one of the reasons we invited you, because we like to hear also top level experts speaking. But we were also excited to host you, Uli, because with your 25 years of VC experience, you come with a passion and a dedication to impact, if I'm correct.
That's correct, yes.
And I even heard that you had taken 2 years off, quote unquote, your mandate at EIF to go work with the university in Spain called ESE, that I'm sure, a business school that everybody knows, to work with large families on how investment in impact is changing the world. And I hope you're going to tell us about this today. So you are a bit of a champion of sustainability. And for the audience, please do ask Uli questions, because it's not every day that we get to have his time and attention. He's very busy expert. I also want to flag the fact that we are very excited that as an LPEA member, one of your colleagues was elected to the board of directors of LPEA. And we hope, therefore, that we will have more bridges to build together, because our industry, obviously, Luxembourg represents way beyond the Luxembourg borders, and you also represent the European Union. So somehow I think we have converging agendas. So welcome, Uli, and thanks for joining us for 10 minutes plus Q&A with the audience. So guys, this is, we have 2 more interviews after Uli. This is one of your last chances to ask questions. Uli, anything else?
No. Okay. Let's hit it off.
So of course it's all about tech, the role of tech VC. You know, how is this tech VC going to help us deal with systemic shocks like the one we've had for the past 4 months? Using also past examples of your life, because you've been around for a while now. How can we use tech to anticipate but also deal with pandemics, Uli? What's your view on this?
Well, I think my view on that is that we could use it much more than we actually do, because if you're looking at the COVID crisis that we are all living through right now, and compare that to similar situations in the past, and in particular how we have been dealing with the pandemic and actually trying to get it under control, what struck me actually most is the fact that our approach to it has not been very different to the time when we were trying as a human society to deal with the plague. Basically, we had nothing better to do than trying to identify people that have been contracting the disease, that are contagious, and then isolating them, locking up. The problem that we have with the mobility that the current society brings about, and the progress that we have made since the plague, is that the pandemic spreads much faster than it did at the time of the plague. And that actually eventually led to the situation that we basically have been shutting down our entire societal life since the beginning of the year, and are just now starting to beginning to open it. Now, why I'm relating that to the context of innovation and technology we see is because with all the knowledge and all the technology that we've got at hand, we ought to find better ways to anticipate what we need to do to get the pandemic shocks and systemic shocks like a pandemic under control. And I just give one example to explain that maybe, and that is if you follow the debate that has taken place in the public media and the society at large since we had this outbreak of the pandemic, we were all having this debate of what is more valuable to protect. Is it data protection and privacy for individuals, or is it the collective health as a public good? In other terms, is it okay to attack the private space of people and private information related to them in order to know who in society is at risk and actually protect the society at large from contagious movements of the virus of the pandemic. And if I look at it from the perspective of technology, actually, why don't we ask ourselves the question, how can we achieve both? How can we go about having technologies in place that do respect privacy and at the same time make it possible to exploit the information that is necessary?
So are you alluding to tracing apps and things like that?
Tracing apps, but tracing apps not for the sake of having tracing apps, because tracing apps we have got plenty around already. The question is, do we have to know where a person has been contracting a virus in order to identify an individual as a risk subject in the population? And actually, if we use all the technology that is currently at hand, we don't have to have that type of tracing anymore. We could actually rely simply on data that is even decentrally stored, even at the level of a smartphone, and operate on that basis.
You know, Uli, we interviewed recently the head of LISR, the Luxembourg Institute for Socioeconomic Research, and they're developing a model to look at the consequences and remedies of the pandemic. I think we should tie you together because they are working on such tools that tie in technology also in relation with teleworking. So this is part of what the Luxembourg ecosystem can do with you, but you're right, we should elevate the debate to these solutions. But speaking of which, when I read your Medium article, which dates back now to April, I was struck by the fact that you, as an investor with 2 decades of experience, were actually focused on the fact that this goes beyond performance and financial measures. And when you say you're a champion you are passionate about impact. What do you mean with that? Knowing that another information I have about you is from 2012 to 2014, you kind of suspended your regular job to launch the impact program of EIF, which today, across the board, is the biggest in Europe. And I'm not sure many people know that. So I want to know if it's about VC, it's not about VC, and how do you put all this together, values and ethics and financial performance and strategy?
Well, I think at the point in time where I did this research and then subsequently returned to EIF to build up the impact investment activities, that was a time where actually impact was indeed perceived as being a contradiction to financial return. And actually, even when I went on this research project, which was analyzing impact strategies of family offices and see how they coexist with financial return objectives in an asset allocation strategy, I was going there with the conviction that there would be a trade-off somewhere to be made, and you have to choose for either of them, and you can't have it both. And actually, the biggest insight that I gained from that, and that was also the reason why I eventually returned to build it up at EIF, is that impact investment is not an asset class in itself that actually is borderline to charity or something like that. Impact investing is an investment approach where you actually seek to achieve societal value next to financial return. And at the time, that was a kind of a little bit an odd topic, mostly for investment professionals that in their free time have been tree huggers. I think in the meantime, we have understood that this is no longer the case, that actually we have moved into an era where you almost cannot create competitiveness anymore without considering society.
So you echo very much one of our previous guests, Hedda Palsen-Müller, and also Julie Becker of the Lux Stock Exchange. So of course, I'm going to ask you the same question as to them. So it's sustainability in itself, if we can mingle it with impact, and I know there are distinctions between the two, is it a fad or is it there to stay? And how is it relevant for our societies to remain relevant in the long term then? And again, tying it back with technology, of course. Huh?
Yeah. Well, let me look at it from two perspectives. Let me look at it from the perspective of portfolio companies and businesses that emerge today, and let me look at it from the perspective of a VC investor. I think from the perspective of a portfolio company, the claim I would make is that we have moved into an era where competitiveness of a business depends massively on your ability to monetize societal value. When we have started off this impact investment movement, that has absolutely not been the case. But today, actually, we see the societal challenges that have basically moved in with us. And
so can you give an example? I mean,
well, actually, the question of climate change, or the question of pandemics as we live through it right now, the question of scarcity of resources, impact from fossil energy and things like that, it's not anymore something that we can remotely delegate to a different continent, to a different geography and say, we are fine. But we actually have those problems at our doorstep today. And that means that the consumer behavior has massively changed. And that means that the way how people actually spend money, but also what they're ready to pay for, has changed. And that is something which is a massive opportunity for businesses. And if I look at it from the perspective of VCs, and again, lift it beyond the discussion of quarterly reports and things like that, the VC industry has always claimed that they are the motor of innovation. Well, I think there has never been a better time to prove this than now.
So that means the EIF is going to back more and more VC funds, because that's going to be my first Q&A from the audience for you, Uli. Essentially, you're a fund of fund, although you do other things. What does it take a VC firm starting to get an investment from you? What kind of boxes do they have to tick?
Well, I think in essence, first of all, we are a market-oriented investor, because our role is to be catalytic for the private sector, which means that we need to live up also to the expectations of the private sector in terms of risk and return profiles. But beyond that, EIF is also a policy-driven investor, which means that we are looking at market segments that are decisive for the competitiveness of the European economic space in terms of in comparison to other geographies like the North American market or the Asian market. We also look at industry verticals that are decisive for our sustainability, be it blue economy, be it resource management, be it energy, be it infrastructure that is sustainable. All those elements are very close to the agenda of EIF. And we're looking at disruptive technologies for the future, which means that we have challenges to tackle in the space of cybersecurity. We have got a whole universe of opportunities out there to exploit the use of space technology for topics like sustainability and the like. And Luxembourg is actually a geography that is very dedicated to that. There's a lot of.
You have the Luxembourg Future Fund, and so it's not the same pocket, Uli, if you're an impact VC firm or if you're a traditional VC firm, or are the two mingled now?
Actually, they were very distinct when we started our impact investing activity back in 2012, 2013. But in the meantime, actually, the borders blur, because let's face it, impact investing is not an asset class. It's an investment approach.
Oh, I think this should be the quote we remember from you today. Impact investing is not an asset class, it's an investment approach. It cuts across the board. Yes,
and actually, if we look at it, how the market has evolved, we see more and more mainstream VCs that come to us with very proactive impact investment approaches, because they see that it's not something that forces them into a trade-off between return and impact, but it's actually something that enhances their competitiveness.
Thank you. So 2 more questions for you. One viewer is asking you whether the impact management project methodology, which I don't know of, if you think this is good. I mean, what is it? I don't even know.
Well, the impact management project is actually a way of integrating impact considerations in business decisions and investment decisions. And I think the one core feature of the impact management project that is relevant is that you make a ex-ante choice in terms of your engagement with impact agendas in your business activity or in your investment activity. And that is something which I think will become the norm in a very, very near-term future.
Okay, very good. And a final question for you. It's a bit personal because we know each other a bit. I know you have a very big passion for elephants. and for many reasons. But I see that you've been at EIF for 25 years. How do they manage to keep you? Is it because you are like an elephant, very loyal, very steady, or how do they, someone who's so, you know, enthusiastic about many things stays at EIF that long? There must be a good reason.
Well, elephants live for 60 years or more, so
that's good omen to start.
Yeah, but I think the reason why I'm still passionate about being at EIF is because in the venture capital space, EIF is probably the best platform for being game changer. And that's what we've been over the last 20 years. And we intend to continue that.
How that? What do you mean changer, game changer?
Well, if you look at when I joined EIF, it was in the year 2000. We just had finished our investment strategy for 2001. And when we were done with it, the market was gone because we had the technology crash actually at the doorstep. And after that, there was basically no venture capital industry in Europe anymore.
That's
and
true.
Look at it today. And a big portion of that has been the catalytic effect of EIF. You
are echoing someone we value very much that you know well, John Holloway, who I think I should say hi to if he's online, because he's our advisor for venture, and he very much says that we should stop having an inferiority complex versus the US, and that what you've done building this was wonderful. So congratulations on that. We should have you on board more. I know you're not Luxembourgish, but again, you know, 99% of our almost 300 members are international firms. So come and talk to us about this more and how we can, this is the objective of our venture club that John heads for us, is how do we further this ecosystem of venture? What does it take? So from what I heard from you, impact, long-term vision, anticipating shocks. Any tips for us, Uli, to make this group even more relevant and attract more VCs to Luxembourg?
Well, I think focus on the fact that you're the motor of game-changing evolution and innovation. So if every VC takes that at its heart and actually interacts with entrepreneurs in this way, we are going to head into a brighter future.
That's beautiful. So we'll stay as disruptive as we can at all levels. Uli, I hope we see you live soon. You're still in remote work mode, I think?
Absolutely, yes.
And you know until when?
Well, actually, so far, no decisive pattern. I think it's more or less a question of whether there will be a second wave or not. Now the borders are opening up. We're going to see how that is going to affect the research of the infection rates or not. I think after the summer, we will know more.
Well, having looked at your smile and your insights, I don't think you're negatively affected by the situation. So keep it up, Uli.
Yeah, actually, I think the worst place is to be than at home at this time. Yeah,
that's true. Great to have you with us. Thank you for the time, and see you around, I guess, after the summer. But meanwhile, we stay in touch, huh?
Yes, we will.
Thanks, Uli.
Rajaa.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.